The new session begins on January 6th. Policymakers always say the budget is the ultimate legislative item that will come before the General Assembly, but there's no doubt that many big issues will also come before lawmakers. For example, this summer we saw task forces continue on artificial intelligence and housing. More cynical political observers likely will not be surprised if there's controversial legislation that gets rolling around social issues of the day. So let's open up the conversation with you both. Trey, I'll let you start here. You know, there's a lot of different areas that the session may touch. One of the things we've been hearing about, at least leading into this, is there could be some possible budget challenges to navigate. What do you expect?
Yeah, you know, this is the first budget cycle in a couple of years. We won't have some COVID money banging around. So I think we've done a pretty responsible job of using that money only for one-time projects. You know, I know there was some push last session. The governor wanted money. Last budget, the governor wanted money put into stuff like pre-K and some other education things that were going to be recurring expenses. General Assembly pushed back on that and said, no, this is money that we've got one time. We're only going to spend it on one-time projects. I think that was wise. It was investment in stuff like water projects, broadband, infrastructure stuff. So, you know, it's going to be a different budget than the last one was because now we're kind of dealing with our own pot of money. I think that the big thing for this session beyond the budget is we have a lot of task forces that have been rolled over, in some cases 2 or 3 sessions. I think AI and housing specifically are probably going to see something go this session on that. The other one, because there's local elections going on, county judges, magistrates, jailers, they're going to be talking to these guys up in Frankfort, their representatives, and saying, hey, do something on jails. We need help on jails at the local level. It is bankrupting counties. That's another one that I think might move, but there's a bunch of task forces out there. If you want to know what's going to be on the agenda, I'd start with those and see which ones are kind of prime and ready to move from task force to legislation.
Nat, what are going to be some big priority issues for Democrats?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that our state lawmakers have sort of been set up for failure by Kentucky Republicans in Congress who chose to gut Medicaid and SNAP on Trump's orders. Right now, like 200,000 Kentuckians are at risk of losing health care completely. 35 rural hospitals are at risk of closing completely, and there's nothing states, whether Kentucky or another state, can do to make up for that in their state budgets. We know that changes to SNAP alone are going to cost, they're going to deal like a $200 million hit to the state budget. And while we're hopeful that Kentucky Republicans and Democrats in the state legislature will work together to do what Democrats have been doing from day one, fighting to make life more affordable, we're already seeing some signs that that might not be what happens, with at least a few lawmakers saying that if your program's losing funding, don't even bother asking for help. There's a budget, the federal budget takes a lot from Kentucky, and like I said, there's just nothing any one state can do to make up for all of that. And while it's an accurate assessment to say there might not be help in the budget for everyone who's losing things, I don't think that's the attitude that Kentuckians need right now. I think that they want somebody who's going to go in and fight for programs that really do make a difference and often quite literally save lives.
Trey, you think Republicans are going to feel any sort of pressure for some of the issues that Nat's raising there?
Maybe in some areas, but we've already been addressing a lot of areas. The A-Trip program is something that Kentucky's worked very hard on and have passed legislation in the last couple of sessions to make sure that rural hospitals are getting extra help and are maximizing reimbursements that come from Medicaid that go to the rural hospitals. You know, at the end of the day, rural hospitals across the country, and this is before the budget. It's true today. There's a disconnect because of how urban hospitals have kind of grown and rural hospitals have shrunk to almost being triaged. It has nothing to do with budgetary effects. It has to do with population and what populations can do to sustain hospitals. It's important to keep access like that open, but you know, just throwing money at it isn't a solution either. You know, again, I think this is the first budget session in 4 years, in 2 cycles, that we don't have a bunch of extra COVID money coming in. We're returning back to a pre-COVID normal. And that's good, but that also means that some of the moves that were made to expand programs during COVID, it's time for them to be drawn back. And I think that's what you saw a little bit of at the federal level. The state, we need to make sure that people that really need help are taken care of. But we do need to start returning to that pre-COVID normal.
A little less than a minute left here, so issues outside of the budget that you think may also come up this year. You mentioned artificial intelligence. You think energy may be a part of that? Do you think we'll also hear about childcare this year? Some quick last thoughts from you.
Energy for sure. Again, I think the big one I would look for is housing. There's going to be something on that. The Bluegrass Institute put out kind of a broad menu of options. I think housing and AI are two of my top ones that I'd be looking for.
Nat, final thought.
I think we should also expect something done about addiction recovery, considering the number of facilities, especially in rural areas hardest hit by the opioid epidemic, are now getting hit by these Medicaid cuts as well. So I would hope to see some support for those communities that are losing things that keep people out of jail and able to provide for their families.
All right.